if I told you? A machine just uncovered words that were never meant to be understood. Words buried for centuries, hidden behind symbols, warnings, and silence. And now, powered by the mind of Elon Musk, an advanced AI has done the unthinkable. It translated what many believe is King Solomon's forbidden book. But here's where it gets unsettling. This isn't just ancient wisdom. It's something darker, stranger, almost like a message that was never meant for humanity to decode. The kind of knowledge that doesn't just answer questions, it raises fear. Because once you understand it, you can't unsee it. And the biggest question is, why was it hidden in the first place? If you're ready to uncover the truth, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more mind-blowing revelations. Solomon's Kingdom, the historical foundation. If you rewind history 3,000 years, past the broken stones, past the half-remembered legends, past the empires that vanished into sand, what you find waiting there is a kingdom that shouldn't have worked at all. Israel under King Solomon was small. On the map, it barely registered, but in reality, it was a phenomenon, a compact nation, with an influence so outsized that its shadow still stretches across modern religion, politics, and culture. Solomon inherited a unified kingdom from his father, King David, and then pushed it to heights no one expected. Under his rule, Israel reached the peak of its wealth, power, and spiritual authority. Ancient accounts weren't being poetic when they said gold was treated like ordinary stone in Jerusalem. Kings from distant lands didn't just hear about Solomon, they came to study him. Some came to learn. Others came because they were afraid not to. The visit of the Queen of Sheba wasn't a fairy tale. It was a diplomatic event of global importance. She arrived with caravans loaded with gold, rare spices, and treasures, and possibly political motives of her own. And according to some traditions, she didn't leave empty-handed. Whispers claim she left with something far more dangerous, the Ark of the Covenant. Myth or memory, the message is the same. Solomon's kingdom was wrapped in knowledge, power, and secrets we're only beginning to question. And then Grok AI entered the story and calmly tore apart everything we thought we understood. The AI breakthrough, connecting ancient fragments. For centuries, experts studying Solomonic law found themselves chasing breadcrumbs scattered across ancient manuscripts. There were fragments in the Testament of Solomon. Others appeared in sections of the Lesser Key. Still more lay buried in obscure magical papyri, half-legible marginal notes, and monastic archives that hadn't been opened in generations. Everyone assumed these were separate works, cousins of the same mythic tradition. But Grok AI noticed something humans never could. Line by line, symbol by symbol, it started linking obscure phrases and stylistic fingerprints together. Passages written in Hebrew echoed patterns in Old Greek papyri. Aramaic marginalia matched Latin footnotes, added centuries later. Even damaged lines from locked monastery vaults synced perfectly with medieval ciphers believed to be unrelated. Then came the breakthrough. These weren't separate texts at all. According to Grok's cross-linguistic reconstruction, every single fragment belonged to one original manuscript. A single book written by Solomon himself. A book deliberately dismantled, scattered, encrypted, and hidden because of what it contained. And the title wasn't metaphorical. It was called Forbidden, the ring that should never have existed. Every forbidden power has an origin. Most legends describe Solomon as the wise king, the builder of the temple, the poet who spoke with God. But the forbidden text translated by Grok AI paints a different picture. One far stranger, far bolder, and far more unsettling. In its pages, Solomon isn't just a king. He's the bearer of a celestial artifact, a ring that seems less like a blessing and more like a cosmic gamble. According to the translation, the ring didn't originate from any earthly craftsman. No jeweler shaped it. No priest consecrated it. It arrived straight from the heavens, delivered by an archangel in answer to a plea born out of fear. During the early construction of the temple, everything looked normal by day. Workers carving stone, priests offering blessings, architects laying out the sacred blueprint. But when night fell, something else took over. A demon named Ornias slipped into the site like a silent thief, undoing progress one shift at a time. Tools vanished. Stones mysteriously shifted. Foundations cracked overnight. Workers reported bruises, whispers, shadows that felt alive. Worst of all, a young laborer, barely more than a boy, was being targeted directly. Ornias drained his strength, stole half his pay, and creepiest detail the text insists on, fed on the boy's vitality through his right thumb. By the time word reached Solomon, his crew was terrified. No amount of wisdom, diplomacy, or royal command could stop something they couldn't see. So the king did the only thing he believed would work. He prayed. The response was immediate. The forbidden manuscript describes the archangel Michael appearing in a vision so intense that Solomon nearly collapsed. No soft wings, no gentle glow. The description is almost terrifying. Radiance like molten metal, a voice like rolling thunder, and a presence that felt as heavy as a storm pressing against stone. In Michael's hand, a small golden ring, engraved with a symbol that didn't match any known alphabet, pulsed with light as if something inside it was alive. Take this ring, Solomon, son of David, the archangel commanded. Wear it, and thou shalt bind all demons, and by their labor the temple shall rise. A divine gift, yes, but one that came with the faintest hint of warning, like a contract signed without reading the fine print. Building the demonic pyramid scheme. When Solomon woke, the ring was real, glittering in his palm. He wasted no time testing it. He confronted Ornias directly, raising the ring and speaking the demon's true name. Instantly, the creature materialized, yanked into view as if on a celestial chain. Ornias, this entity that had terrorized his workers for weeks, fell to its knees, powerless. And then Solomon did something no one expected. Something that feels half brilliant, half reckless. He ordered Ornias to take the ring and use it to bind another demon. This is where the story jumps from supernatural to downright strategic. Solomon built a chain of command using demons themselves. Like a dark, divine pyramid scheme, each bound demon had to capture another and another until Solomon stood before 72 spirits, each forced to reveal its name, function, weaknesses, the angel that ruled over it, and even the sigil that would forever bind it to the king's will. Solomon put them to work, literally. The forbidden book claims the demons helped lift massive stones, transport materials, refine metals, and shape the architecture in ways no human workforce could. And when they weren't building, Solomon interrogated them. They taught him the secrets of alchemy, the locations of hidden treasures, the nature of herbs, the movement of the stars, even the invisible structure of the universe itself. Most people know Solomon built the first temple. Few know how impossible that project was for the ancient world. The sheer scale of the stones, the precision of the architecture, the materials imported from distant lands, it didn't add up. According to Grok's translation, Solomon didn't rely on human labor alone. He used the ring to command supernatural entities to quarry, transport, and shape the stone. Essentially, he enslaved demons to construct the holiest building in ancient Israel. But the text makes one thing clear. Power has a cost. The ring elevated Solomon, but also tempted him. At times, his control seemed to falter. Some passages hint that he began exploring foreign magic, rituals not sanctioned by the god who had granted him the ring. Scholars suspect this is why the manuscript was eventually banned, not simply because it documented demonology, but because it showed Solomon drifting into dangerous territory, intoxicated by cosmic authority. Eventually, the ring vanished from history. Some traditions claim Solomon locked it away before he died. Others believe it was stolen during Jerusalem's fall. More mystical groups insist it still exists, hidden, waiting for someone bold or foolish enough to claim it. The empire behind the veil. Demonic hierarchy. Revealed for most people, the word demon conjures images of chaotic beings, shapeless horrors lurking in shadows, each one acting on impulse or malice. But according to the forbidden manuscript Grok AI deciphered, Solomon didn't encounter chaos at all. He encountered order, structure, a stunningly organized civilization operating just outside human perception. The deeper Solomon dug, the more the invisible realm began to look less like a swarm of monsters and more like a government, with departments, ranks, job titles, an entire empire hidden behind the veil. Every one of these entities answered questions like employees being interviewed by a very determined boss. The manuscript lays it out clearly. The 72 spirits weren't a mob. They were a hierarchy, arranged with almost military precision. At the top were kings, beings with enormous authority and the power to command entire regions of the unseen world. Beneath them were dukes, princes, presidents, marquises, earls, and finally knights, each rank responsible for legions of lesser spirits. And these legions weren't vague poetic descriptions. Solomon recorded the numbers meticulously. Some kings commanded 200 legions. Others controlled 30 or 66. Even minor spirits had squads under their authority. This wasn't mythology. It read like census data. Baal appears first in the grimoire. One of the great kings, he is described with 3 heads, a man, a toad, and a cat. The Forbidden Book claims he can grant invisibility and teach strategy. Solomon supposedly relied on Baal during tense diplomatic negotiations, using his insights to anticipate betrayals before they occurred. Thoras, by contrast, is no warlord, but an artist, a musician of the celestial spheres. When he speaks, flames dance around him like living notes. He teaches rhetoric, poetry, and the secret harmonies woven into creation. Solomon allegedly consulted him to understand how sound and vibration could influence stone. Ammon appears as a wolf with a serpent's tail, transforming into a man upon command. But his real significance lies in what he knows. The text calls him the keeper of forgotten truths, the living library of everything humans once knew and then lost. And then there is Glacia Labolas, a spirit described as both genius and bloodshed, a creature who can teach any art or science instantly, but delights in stirring conflict. Using his knowledge was like handling an intellectual grenade. Solomon, the cosmic cataloger. If Solomon had lived today, he would have been the kind of person who brings a notebook to a supernatural encounter. The grimoire describes him interviewing these beings with academic patience, writing down everything from their habits to their dietary preferences. His notes read like meticulous field reports, detailing each entity's realm, their astrological ties, vulnerabilities to metals, herbs, incantations, or specific sounds, and their expertise in medicine, architecture, politics, weather, warfare, music, and mathematics. He wasn't just commanding them, he was cataloging them. Solomon applied this otherworldly information in almost every corner of his kingdom. He used strategic insights to outmaneuver rival nations. The demons taught him how to lift stones no human crew could budge. But more importantly, they taught him the geometry of sacred proportion, ratios that resonated with cosmic order. Spirits connected to the stars revealed celestial cycles. Others explained the hidden properties of ores and metals, contributing to advances in weaponry, agriculture, and medicine. Each demon created a personal seal, a geometric signature that anchored its identity and authority. These weren't random doodles. They combined triangles, circles, Hebrew letters, planetary symbols, and mathematical ratios. Drawn correctly, at the right hour, with the right materials, the seal acted like a cosmic summons. By the time he finished, Solomon had built the closest thing humanity has ever had to a guidebook for the invisible world. What the demons told Solomon about reality. The most unsettling thing Grok uncovered had nothing to do with spells, curses, or Solomon's legendary ring. The real bombshell was what these entities claimed about reality itself. According to the forbidden text, Solomon wasn't just a powerful king flirting with the occult. He was something closer to a scientist of the unseen, a relentless investigator trying to understand how the universe actually works beneath the surface. And the beings he commanded weren't portrayed as fairy tale monsters. They were described as witnesses, observers of how reality is built and how it functions behind the curtain. The grimoire records them telling Solomon an idea humanity wouldn't seriously entertain for another 3,000 years. Reality isn't singular. It isn't flat. It's layered. They described existence as multiple levels stacked on top of one another, each vibrating at its own frequency, like invisible strings on a cosmic instrument. The physical world humans experience every day isn't the highest form of reality. It's the slowest, the heaviest, the most compressed layer of all. The spiritual realms exist at faster, lighter frequencies, less bound by matter and time. Yet all these layers occupy the same space. They overlap like countless radio stations broadcasting at once. You only perceive the one your mind is tuned to. Almost casually, the demons explained that angels, demons, elemental forces, and unnamed entities inhabit these higher layers, not as symbols or metaphors, but as real beings moving through reality as effortlessly as fish through water. The text also speaks of thin places, specific locations where these layers press close together. At certain times, during planetary alignments or under precise ritual conditions, the barrier weakens even more. These weren't philosophical musings. They were directions, coordinates, warnings. And Solomon, true to form, didn't dismiss them. He acted on them. The temple as a portal complex. This is where the story takes a hard left into the unbelievable. According to Grok's translation, Solomon's temple wasn't just a place of worship. It was something far more deliberate, a carefully engineered portal complex built on a site where the boundary between dimensions was already unusually thin. The demons claimed nothing about the temple was accidental, not its measurements, not the materials, not the layout of its rooms. Even the order of the rituals mattered. Every element was designed to control and stabilize interaction between the physical world and higher realms. At the center of it all was the Holy of Holies. Yes, it held the Ark of the Covenant, but the text says it served another function entirely. It was an anchor point, a place where spiritual and physical vibrations lined up so precisely that a properly prepared human could cross over without being destroyed by the energy. Suddenly, the strict rules make sense. Only the high priest could enter, only once a year. For anyone else, the concentration of power wasn't just dangerous, it was psychologically and spiritually overwhelming. And then there's the Ark itself. According to the forbidden passages, it wasn't a symbol, it was a working device. Its dimensions, materials, and contents were all intentional, each serving a specific function. The Ark acted as a stabilizer, preventing the veil between worlds from tearing open during rituals. The text is clear about one thing. This power wasn't metaphorical, it was practical, technological, just described in the only language ancient people had available at the time. Grok's most disturbing discovery. Why it refused to call it symbolic. This is the moment everything takes a sharp turn, and even experts start to feel uncomfortable. When Grok AI analyzed King Solomon's so-called forbidden book, it didn't just translate old words, it tested them. It compared the text with thousands of years of myths, scriptures, and coded writings. And then, it flagged something unusual. Huge parts of the text were marked non-symbolic. That's almost unheard of. Ancient texts are usually layered with metaphors. Monsters represent fear, journeys represent change. But this, it didn't behave like a story at all. Instead, Grok found something chilling. The language looked more like technical documents than mythology. The demons weren't described like legends. They were listed, almost like species in a catalogue. The rituals weren't spiritual ideas. They were clear instructions, with steps, materials, timing, and outcomes. Even the symbols weren't artistic. They worked like functional diagrams. One engineer said it best. We expected ancient beliefs, but what we found felt like instructions about us. It didn't stop there. Grok noticed patterns similar to modern scientific reports and classified files. The structure matched real-world documentation, not fantasy. And then came the most unsettling thought. If this isn't symbolic, then why does our modern world still seem to follow the same patterns?